We were so back, and then it was so over. And just like that, we are so back again. From one user who proudly exclaimed, "Open my butthole," after banking $70,000 on the recent run-up of Opendoor, to another who made 57K in a single day on accident. WallStreetBets is totally double dipping on Opendoor stock, so we're going to dive into the 8 best trades I saw made on Opendoor this week. Remember that this is not financial advice, and what you do with your retardation is your responsibility. We'll start with user Risey, who also goes by not a smart user. Apparently, he's a little smarter than he initially lets on, making 40K on Robinhood, timing the Intel bottom perfectly, and now exclaiming, quote, "Open my butthole," a very original pun as we'll soon see. Risey shows off a Robinhood brokerage account with $225,000 in it, a 60% gain in just the past month. While he didn't specify when he bought, I believe he did in early August after the first run-up and subsequent dip, selling near the top on August 22nd for about $4.90 per share. The most upvoted and downvoted comment came from the same thread, when user New York City Walker 76 asks, "You sold at $4.90 when it ran up to $5.20? You might regret selling too early come Monday morning." For a Wall Street Bets trader, Risey had a pretty reasonable response. He walked away with 70K profit. If it goes up, good for those who held. There's always another opportunity around the corner, especially in this kind of market. My gut tells me that Risey's portfolio will continue to rise with a level-headed view like that as he avoids FOMO and moves on to the next play. Next up, meet Ramsey Rumples. Not to be confused with buy and hold index funds believing Dave Ramsey. Ramsey Rumples is part of John Melendez's Dabblerverse and its associated humor. I'll be honest, some of these had me laughing. Out of his over 600 posts in the Dabbleverse, Ramsey Rumples finally peeked into Wall Street Bets, just once, to exclaim that he turned $500 into 4K on Opendoor, and it was good enough for him to sell. Unlike most in Wall Street Bets who buy options expiring anywhere from 0 days to a few months to expiration, Ramsey Rumple's positions were 50-cent calls expiring in January of 2027. He bought these calls in May, when Open was near its bottom, and sold them with beautiful timing on August 22nd, when Open was at its peak. While the timing was perfect, the strategy honestly wasn't. The calls were almost as expensive as the shares would have been themselves, with the added theta decay. It worked out well, but buying that far out, that in the money, didn't really give him much more leverage than a shares play alone. I'll also read Milky Bread's explanation for anyone here who doesn't understand what Ramsey Rumples purchased. He bought calls with an expiry in 2027, betting that Open would reach 50 cents by then. If they held the calls until the expiry and Open was below 50 cents at the time, they would expire worthless. Because Open rose past the strike of 50 cents, their calls are in the money, having intrinsic value because if exercised, they would enable you to purchase Open shares at 50 cents each, plus extrinsic value because there's a lot of time between now and expiry for the value to continue to increase. Thanks for the explanation, Milky Bread. And now we're going to meet our degenerate trader of the week, user 373-66034, also known as the Great Hambino 24. Hambino seems to be a really cool guy. From his gardening hobby, he says he grows these tomatoes to give them away to family and friends or cook some tasty Italian food, to apparently being a Vikings fan, much like myself. Hambino says that his in-the-money calls on Opendoor didn't auto-sell last week, and so he was left with holding 13,000 shares. It worked out pretty sweet for him though. Between some leaps he held on Open expiring in 2027 and the shares themselves, he was up over $24,000 on the day and $57,000 on the position as a whole. 3 words here can sum up the entire situation: you failed successfully. If you're concerned about your in-the-money calls not auto-selling, don't worry, your calls will probably expire worthless, so you don't even have to worry about it. I'm kidding. What happens is, generally, if you have the cash in your account to exercise the call options, in other words, to buy 100 shares like your call option allows you to do at a certain price, then your brokerage will tend to do that instead of selling the options. Are you ready now for a really original Opendoor pun? Well, buckle up, because user Dismal Complaint 2491 writes that he's very glad that he kept his anus open, revealing 39% in gains on Opendoor shares today alone. And while the total gain percentage is cut off, it's clear he's got a multi-bagger on his hands. The total gain in all positions is about 12K, but Wall Street Bets had less to say about the 5-figure tendies and more about the title itself. This has got to be my favorite part of the editing process, screenshotting these absolutely degenerate comments and pasting them into my videos and putting them on blast for the whole channel to enjoy alongside myself. If that's your style of humor too, then you'll love the Gigastonks community Discord. Not only will you be part of a small but growing tribe of apes, but we've just started our own Gigastonks community paper trading fund, where we take the DDs from the group and collectively vote on the best ones, entering and exiting positions every single week. Together, we can beat the market and get filthy fucking rich. Now let's tackle those last 4 case studies. Another bike rider is, well, another bike rider. Hailing from New York City, I've probably crossed paths with him on my own bicycle recently. My hot take though is that if it's an electric bike and not 100% leg powered, you're cheating. Last month, another bike rider posted that he'd made almost $6,000 so far in Opendoor calls and tried but failed to convince Wall Street Bets to still be bullish on Opendoor past its first run to 264. Not that his DD was a fail, just that the mods kept removing the post. I really hate when that happens, but his prediction was right when he returned to the subreddit to exclaim, "Open, Tuesday, Wednesday, and today. Never give up." The screenshot shows not 6K, not 10K, not even 50K, but $83,000 in profit, accounting for the lion's share of his overall profit in his account. And Wall Street Bets seems really freaking bullish on Opendoor still. I've seen predictions at $20, $50, even $80. Alberto Pike's post is just the surface of the Opendoor bullish case. They have tons of homes in a market not exactly friendly to high-priced homes. With just a couple of interest rate drops, Open could really hit the moon. Fun with AI has experimented almost exclusively with YieldMax. I was actually very impressed with their experiment so far, as they seem to be outpacing the market pretty significantly, but the real fun began when they threw $2,700 into Open shares, back when they were just over $1 per share. Fun with AI exited right by the peak. That's some Nancy Pelosi timing right there, selling at $5.19 per share, pocketing over 10K in profit. I bet you they'll throw it into some MSTY or something similar in YieldMax. I can't help but wonder how far Opendoor is going to actually go. I've been seeing, like I mentioned, a lot of comments about this, how Open has so many tailwinds that it's stupid to sell now. Obviously, it's never stupid to sell when you're that far in the green, but still, the sentiment is so bullish right now, and it's something I don't think we've maybe seen since GameStop. You ever get frustrated that your stock picks aren't mooning as much as you want them to and take to Wall Street Bets to complain about it? That's exactly what user AZMatique1 did a few months ago, back when Opendoor was sitting at just over $2 per share. Their tone quickly changed though, posting their now unrealized gain of $39,773 and a passive-aggressive caption underneath the screenshot. Are the people who were unfriendly to me a month ago still around? Wall Street Bets was full of commenters expressing the same feeling. Others didn't believe in them, then Opendoor rocketed, and they went back and replied to all the haters just to get even. And finally, we'll close out today with user Slightly Tilted 92, a self-admitted retard who indulged in GameStop back in the day, drives a Porsche and a Mercedes, so this guy is balling out. Slightly Tilted W's kept on coming as he posted in Wall Street Bets, quote, "Open in all accounts." At least we didn't get a rectal joke in the title this time. The unique thing is that Slightly Tilted literally did long Open in all of his accounts. In Fidelity, he purchased over 6,000 shares and profited over $21,000. He then doubled down at a higher price in later July to get 10,000 shares total, profiting another $4,500 off the second trade. And in Robinhood, he got in over 2,400 shares at an average cost of $260. Pocketing over $6,000 in profits, plus one bonus option which yielded him just over $2,000 so far. There was some debate on the post as OP mentioned that he will continue to exercise options as they come closer to expiration date, but others pointed out that he might make more money from selling the option instead of exercising. This is because the call option doesn't just have an intrinsic value, but if it's a ways away from expiration, it also has an extrinsic value, meaning that there is still some theta left in there that you can collect when you sell the option that you don't collect if you directly exercise it. That kind of deep dive into options value is exactly the kind of stuff we're talking about every day in the Gigastonks Discord community, so on your way to the moon, pop into the server and say hello to the Gigastonks gang. Smash that like button, and if you're new here, welcome bro, hit the subscribe button for more content, and I'll see you soon.